Welcome to this glass-blowing documentary. My name is Jonathan Adams. In this video, you will see the entire process of a large artistic vase being made from beginning to end. Here you see my gallery, where one can come and see the latest editions of my works of art. There are a lot of subtle movements that one has to learn in order for a piece to turn out just right. The equipment you see here was built by myself over a year's time. I've been making glass now since 1994, and it has not been an easy road. This is the beginning of the process of making glass. The stainless steel blowpipe is first preheated at the tip to a red hot so that the molten glass can stick to it. The glass itself is in a molten state. It is held in a furnace in a large crucible at 1900 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, it has a similar consistency to that of liquid honey. The blowpipe is now being dipped into the glass. You have to turn it repetitively in order to pick up the glass up onto the tip of the blowpipe. This process is called gathering. Once you have gathered the glass, you have to work very quickly with it. The glass solidifies at 1000 degrees. It loses its heat within 1 minute. At that 1000 degrees, it becomes hard like your tableware glass. The glass is now rolled on a metal plate called a marver. There are many different steps that you have to do throughout the process depending on the piece that you are trying to make. Each step will be very different. When you make glass for the first time, you start by making a paperweight or a small cup. Then slowly, after years of practice, you will be able to execute the artistic pieces that you imagine. Here I am picking up some preheated glass color on the top of the clear glass, which I have already gathered, and melting it all together into a uniform shape. The furnace that you see here is called a glory hole. It is hotter than the crystal furnace so that the glass melts quickly. Throughout the process of this video, you will see me reheat the piece of glass over and over again. This keeps the glass at a malleable temperature and also stops the piece from cracking. The colors themselves have their own consistency. The blues and greens are each softer than the reds and yellows, which are harder, depending on the recipes that they were made with. Each glass has its own recipe. For glass color, we use metal oxides that are added to the base glass to obtain its color. For example, the blue glass would use a cobalt oxide and the green a copper oxide. For cranberry glass, we add gold. This makes it one of the more expensive colors to work with. Once I have melted the color together, I move them around to give it a nice marble effect. The tool that I'm using here is called a pair of pincettes, which is basically the same as a large pair of tweezers. This color will end up to be the whole background color of the vase. Once the glass is in a uniform shape, I compress a small amount of air into the blowpipe and hold my thumb over the mouth of the pipe. The air forces its way into the glass, making a small bubble. If the bubble is blown off center and is not symmetrical, it will be very hard to make the rest of the vase symmetrical. Also, you don't want to blow the glass out so that it is too thin, because when you get the next gather of glass, you might lose the color into the crystal furnace or deform the uniform color beyond repair. Once the glass is blown and on center, you need to allow it to cool down. This will make it hard and enable you to pick up more crystal on top of it. As you take your second gather of glass, you need to pay special attention that you do not pick up any bubbles in the glass. If you do, it is good practice to cut them out. This will allow your piece to have a higher value and not depreciate it. Also, pay attention to gather uniformly so that the glass is very easy to handle. After you come out of the furnace, you need to turn the glass at the right speed. Too fast and the molten glass will spin out of control, like a saucer, and too slow, it will fall to the ground. Once you have made it to the bench, the glass needs to be smoothed and made uniform. For this, I use a piece of cherry wood, which has been turned into a block. It is an excellent tool for the job. You can also use a paddle, a wet paper, or the marver. As you shape the glass, you need to be careful that there are no dimples in the piece where a bubble might be caught on the next gather. Now that the piece has cooled down a bit, I will be getting the third and final gather. This will be the volume of glass that I need for this piece. A small piece may only need 1 gather. A much larger piece may be up to 6 gathers. It depends on what you're trying to make for the volume of glass you pick up. And you have to keep in mind that 20 pounds of glass on the end of your blowpipe feels more like 80. While the glass is molten on the outside, I take advantage of the heat and apply color for an exterior decoration. The first colors are powder, and they are pink and lime green. The two of them will separate slightly, giving me an organic feel to the piece. Then you apply 5 colors in a frit form that are prepared in a line. Once applied, you need to reheat the glass in order to fuse it together. As you do this, you need to turn it at the same speed that it is falling. This will keep it on center and also create a nice texture in the piece.